Ladies and gentlemen, your favorite white colonizer coming to you live from Israel. Tal, the traveling clad here. Let's take a look at this interview between Mark Levin and Bibi Netanyahu.
You know, in this country, there's a lot of people who still wonder what role, if any, Saudi Arabia had in 9/11. Now, there's a lot of talk about Saudi Arabia, peace with Saudi Arabia, and then you read in the papers, well, Saudi Arabia
Mark,
says
back
yes,
back
but
away. This is a dangerous
territorial,
conversation for
it
me.
needs to be a Palestinian state. Since when did the Palestinians become so important to the Saudi Arabian?
Well, we got the Abraham Accords because we went around the Palestinians. Because the Palestinians, whether they're Hamas or their competitors, the Palestinian Authority, they both want to see the end of Israel. The only difference is Hamas says, let's use it immediately by terror and military means, and the other guys say, no, let's do it by lawfare, by the ICC. Let's put pressure on Israel to withdraw to these indefensible lines where we're 9 miles wide. President Trump says Israel's too small. He cuts to the chase. Gets right to the point, and he's right. Well, we can't be any smaller. I mean, we're not going to have an organization that is committed to our destruction 9 miles from the sea. All they have to do is cut us in half, and we're dead. So yeah, that's something that may have been debated in Israel, but after October 7th, after the massacre, that's gone. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to say, oh, just give them a Palestinian state. They just had one. It's called Gaza under Hamas. That was an effective Palestinian state. What happened with that, you see, was used as a springboard in an attempt to destroy us. When we complete the changeover of the Middle East, when we cut the Iranian axis down to even further than we've already cut it, when we make sure that Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons, when we destroy Hamas, that will set the stage for an additional agreement with the Saudis and with others. By the way, I believe also in the Muslim world, because it's peace.
Okay, good. I thought for some reason he was going to make a caveat there and maybe say that'll cut an agreement for a potential future Palestinian state. Bibi Netanyahu is absolutely correct. Nobody here wants a Palestinian state. Nobody will accept a Palestinian state. We don't feel safe with Palestinians on our border. And he's absolutely correct. Gaza has been an effective Palestinian state for the last 20 years. It has been a de facto Palestinian state run by their choice of government. We can't have it. We can't do it. It's not going to work for us. And honestly, at a certain point, you got to think it's us or them. We can't do the whole collective kumbaya thing. It's just not going to work. So we choose us, and we choose life, and they choose death, and it is what it is. That's their choice. By the way, guys, if you don't mind, checking out thetravelingclat.com on the description down below, or just right under the video, you'll see icons popping up with my merchandise. I've made a lot of really cool merch, and I sunk my heart into the designs. It's one of the best ways to support me, and you'll get something cool that you can rock yourself. So check it out down below in the description. Let's get back to the video.
Peace through strength. When we are very strong and we stand together, objections that are raised now as insurmountable sort of change. And that happened in the first term. If you looked at what some of our Arab partners were saying, or the conditions they had for the Abraham Accords, it's never going to happen. Now, it did happen because we had such a strong partnership. And I'll tell you, I don't want to get into all these verbal exchanges. They're not important. If we're strong, if we're victorious, peace will come, more peace will come, and it will sweep the day. I have no doubt about that.
Mr. Prime Minister, Donald Trump has come up with this plan for Gaza, which is quite revolutionary. About people having the opportunity to move, about cleaning up the territory, about encouraging, or more than encouraging, Egypt and Jordan to take Gazans and so forth. What do you make of all of it?
I think that President Trump's proposal is the first fresh idea in years, and it has the potential to change everything in Gaza.
By the way, I say this as a criticism of Bibi, and I agree with him. It is the first fresh idea and something Bibi would not have thought about and not have pushed for. So this is a criticism of Bibi too. It's kind of disgusting that we have to wait for a U.S. president to help us come up with these ideas and push for these kinds of stuff. It's not to discredit Bibi all the way, but it's sad that we had to wait for a U.S. president to make this happen.
Otherwise, we can keep coming back to the same thing over and over. Same old, same old, same old. We leave, the Gaza becomes again reoccupied by these terrorists who use it as a base to attack Israel. And he comes forward and he says, let's have a new idea. By the way, I've seen him do this time and again. He cuts to the chase. He asks you these things or says things that people find it jarring initially. And then I said they scratch their heads. They say, you know what? He's got a point here. And then sometimes, and I hope this time too, they say, he's right, because it happened many times. So it's happened this time too. What is Gaza? Gaza is basically a small area right next to it. It's 25 miles from Tel Aviv, which Hamas has used as a springboard for continuous attacks, terrorist attacks against Israel. We come in, we slap them, smack them, and we leave, and then we do it again, and we do it. They do it again, we do it again. It doesn't go anywhere. Now we did something else. We're going to finish Hamas off. And what happens then? Do you leave the people there with all that devastation? Do you say, well, they have to stay in, confined? Because nobody lets them leave. Everybody describes Gaza as the biggest open-air prison in the world. You know why? Because they're not allowed to leave. And therefore, they're just getting more and more densely populated, more miserable, overtaken time and time again by these terrorists. And in comes President Trump and he says, hey, open the gate. Let them leave. And I'll find a place of destination for temporary relocation. How are you going to clean up this site, devastation site? Devastation caused by the fact that Hamas was fighting from densely populated areas and forced us to take action. They're also devastated by their booby traps that they put there in every house. They did it. A lot of this is self-inflicted. So, get the population out, allow them to leave, not forcible eviction, not ethnic cleansing, getting people out of what all these countries and all these do-gooders say is an open.
It's like all the pro-Palestinian side wants to condemn Palestinians to just like what do you want? Do you want human rights organizations like UNRWA to come back in and help them facilitate construction? It's going to turn into bombs on Israel again. So the cycle of war continues. You can't bring in Israel to help them rebuild because they'll just kill Israelis. So it ends up in war again or kidnap them. You can't bring in the U.S. to help them rebuild because they'll just kill them or kidnap them. It's a problematic population. Actually, when you think about it, at least moving the people who want to leave kind of makes a little bit of sense because you give them an opportunity at a new life. You don't condemn them to living in a construction site. As somebody who constructed his own house, at some point, living in a construction site, it's a terrible thing. It's a horrible thing. It's a horrible experience. And I can only imagine what that would be like in a war zone with no food and no water. And that's a hard thing to deal with.
In their prison? Why are you keeping them in prison? All that President Trump is saying, I want to open the gate and give them an option to relocate temporarily while we rebuild the place physically and while we also rebuild it in terms of de-radicalization. You want to come back? You have to disavow terrorism.
Absolutely.
But you can't come back. Get the Arab countries, the Gulf countries, and others to finance the reconstruction. They always say that they care about Gaza. Okay, here's a chance to prove
Here's
it.
a chance.
I think this is a novel approach and the correct approach. It's got details that have to be sorted out, but two things that President Trump has been blamed for are totally false. He never said he wants American troops to do the job. Guess what? We'll do the job, Hamas attacked us, we'll take care of them. We'll finish them all. And the second thing, he didn't say that American taxpayers' money is going to do the job. He said he'd get independent financing for it, and I'm sure he will. So I think this is a very, very good new approach.
Absolutely.
And rather than discounting it or, guffawing about it or deriding it, I think we should pursue it because I think it's the right approach. Of course, you have to get the destination. You have to get the destination so they can relocate somewhere. I think that's the real issue that is involved here. But I'll tell you, once you give them the option, they'll leave. You know how I know that? Because I got requests from Gaza before the war for people who wanted to leave. But they were locked because their neighbor, Egypt, wouldn't open the door. That's the truth. And you know something? Some of them would bribe the gatekeepers, not ours, but
$10,000.
In Egypt, they would buy them. So the very rich got out. But those who wanted to leave couldn't leave. Give them an option. Give them an option. And I think that's just the right thing to do.
You know, this is actually really exciting because we're starting to see more details from this random shit that Trump said earlier in the week. And when you phrase it in the way that you do, and when you look at it in this way where it seems to be a lot of care and love behind it, and not like aggression towards the Gazans, but just letting them know, y'all fucked up. You fucked around. You find out now. And here's somewhat of a solution to help you guys improve your situation and hopefully create a space for you to come back to in the future where we can all coexist together in a non-Israel, non-Palestinian zone, because there should be no Palestinian governance anywhere in this world. They cannot be trusted to govern themselves. Absolutely not. Pretty interesting to see the details come out. Thanks for supporting my channel, guys, and we'll see you in the next one. I love you a long time. Goodbye, class. If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat, or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.